Yeah.
I met a good old boy down there, and he said, he said, you know Andy Richter?
Yeah? Yeah, he did?
Yeah.
You met a guy in Georgia, and he said, you know Andy Richter?
Oh, yeah, you guys do well there.
Oh.
And he said, I said, yeah. He said, have you ever heard of Andy Richter joke? I said, no. He said, well, most of it's based on him being Swedish-German. And then he told me an Andy Richter joke. And
really?
But I didn't know he was Swedish-German. I thought it was all nonsense.
Yeah, well, now this lines up perfectly.
Yeah.
Let me ask you something, because it sort of relates to the first...
Wait, don't you want to hear the joke?
No. All right. Oh, you're down to 6. You're down to 6. All right, this joke will get you back up.
You can get him back.
Okay. Let's hear the joke.
Well, the fellow says, he says, man, he says, you ever heard the time about the old prospector? That's how he talks, you know?
Yeah.
He says, man, there was an old prospector, and he was prospecting for gold, and he was having a hell of a time getting any gold. It was an empty stake, I believe. And he said he'd come into town one day. He'd been in the mine for a good 8 months. He said, by God, he said, I'm only flesh and blood. Sure. Yeah. And I need a woman, you know. And so he goes into town. He goes up to the bartender. He says, bartender, he says, man, I've been in that mine for a hell of a long time, and I'm only flesh and blood. I need a woman. Well, the bartender says, hell, there ain't no women in this town. If you want to do any of that business, all we got is Andy Richter, the Swedish-German. The prospector, he says, no, he says, hell, I ain't into that funny stuff, you know. He says, I'll be fine.